see people aren't ready for that, for the Luciferian talk. I understand. I've thought that way before. When people start talking about things that are different from what you've always known, you tend to like immediately say, "Out of here." It is what it is. All right? It just is what it is. There's a reason why Steve claims to be the top Luciferian in the United States, because well, he had all this information first, and he kept it. He kept it and held it, and then he started to find out that there's a bunch of other people that have popped up on social media, not just YouTube. I'm sure there's Facebook people too, that they started to figure these things out after they step out of the temple there, and from their meetings, you know. And I mean, what is it? Does that offend you? Like, to the people that hear new information? Or, I mean, for me, it's just a new, thought, you know. I have a new thought. And I think, what if that wasn't what it really meant the entire time? And then here's how you take the pulse. You just listen to like anybody who you know is a Pharisee or a Sadducee, and when they completely stick with the old doctrine, the same old, then you know it's like kind of the confirmation comes when you know that there's somebody that's blind, or many people that are blind, and then you see what their take is on it. I mean, that's a way to test, anyway. But Trump's going to shut down the majority of the wall this week, because he said last week, if those 100 soldiers don't get out of Venezuela, you know, because it kind of started with those 50 people that, you know, got killed over in New Zealand, and back on March 15th. Yeah, I don't forget dates. Back on March 15th, he appeared. What else appeared on March 15th? Something else again with Trump. I forget. It was like a significant thing. But the New Zealand, starting from the east to west, coming down like lightning, you know, representing Satan, you know, his fall down to earth. But he fell a long time ago. And I mean, mainly like almost 8 years ago. He already fell. And he had the well, like I said, he had the information that he held on to, and then he was the first one to have it, and then the rest caught on. And the best part is catching on without being a part of a program besides God's program, just catching on. So anyway, you know, Michael, he's gonna pop back up because he has a court date. I mean, whatever that guy's name is, whatever they used his stage name is, he's appearing in court 21 days after March 15th. So when if you guys are curious to know, like, because a couple of the commenters asked, like, how do you know this? Explain, please. I don't. It's just a guess. Because you could take it either way. Like, come on. How do you know? How do you think you know? Or it's like, guys, he kind of nailed down another. How do you know this, Robin? Please, tell us. Well, this one's simple. I mean, if that's the case, if that happens that way. You know, if it happens on the exact day and the exact event happens on that day, the event's going to happen. It's just a matter of which day of this month. Which day of this month, April, does it happen? April is going to be filled with a bunch of fools and a lot of jokes. And so with Trump closing down the majority of the wall, all right, the border wall encompassing the camp of the saints. The border is the wall. The wall is you call it what you want. You call it a barrier. We call it a great, magnificent sky. We call it encompassing the camp of the saints. We call it shutting down. So Trump's going to shut down the majority of the wall. The majority of YouTube channels will get shut down. If you just take the pulse of the false prophets, you know, like Richie from Boston, Christopher Green from AMTV, they're false prophets. They have a script that they read. One of them reads it with his glasses that protrudes the holographic words that are in front of him so he can read it better. Yeah, I know, technology couldn't possibly do that. I mean, they only show it right in front of your face with that mirror in the new vehicles where it protrudes the speedometer 6 feet in front of you. And you can see the numbers clearly. But nah, glasses, not possible to be able to do that with Richie's case. So Richie's a false prophet. And then the AMTV guy, well, unless you are one hell of a good reader and you can stare directly at the camera and the words go up and down and around, like let's say the camera hole is in the middle of the phone and then your words are just going across it. I mean, I can see that would be pretty good because you could you would be able to look at use your peripheral vision. But other than that, you're just wearing an earpiece and you've already read your script and you're regurgitating what you said. So you're a false prophet too. And the definition of a false prophet, no, it's not somebody that sets dates and a date comes around and the event that happened you couldn't see. That just means you're spiritually blind. False prophet is somebody who purposely lies to people and they know they're lying. Is there anybody out there like that knows that they're lying and then you're prophesying? Well, you're a false prophet. You're falsely prophesying. Is there anybody in any bunkers at this moment? Anybody in a bunker anywhere that is reading a script that you're told to read from your boss? Well, then you're a false prophet and you know it. Now, again, God will punish who he needs to punish, how he punishes them, different levels of your punishment. And you know, I can't promise anything that God won't do. I'm just trying to look at everything as being absolutely spiritual, 100%. No actual major destruction is happening, except for whatever the elite decide to blow up, you know, to make it look like, look, when you have bombs protruding from the sky, the holographic images, once all that really starts to kick off very shortly here, you'll start seeing them, and we should see explosions, and at the end of the explosion there should be proof of an explosion. So there's going to be certain areas that the elite are going to blow up, and I have a feeling that it's going to be in more wide open areas, like strategically done by Golan Heights himself, the Golan Heights, the Golan, standing on the Golan. And it's all about the height, because the towers of Babel, well, they went to the heights of heaven. So yeah, expect the earth to shake, and once we hear about the major earthquakes, you know, this is all going to happen within the last 7 days of this absolute horror terror show that everybody in the world's going to, including the YouTube agents that don't know the real deal, right? You're just still hired to do a specific task, and which is to like keep an eye on certain people and just listen to the words and then kind of take, you know, it's like I give people essay lessons. Like every video I make, you have to come back with the essay to your boss and kind of explain what was going on, what I said in there. I mean, it's your job, it ain't mine. My job is just to talk, and then everybody else can listen and then digest what they want. But for those people that don't know, that are agents for, you know, the king of media, not just YouTube, but the king of media, you guys are agents for him. He's not telling you the whole story. I do understand now. He is continuing to pretend that he is Christ, no matter what. Even to the ones that work for him, but they don't even really know they work for him. Again, it's the levels of being lied to. Which degree Mason are you? Once you're a 33rd degree Mason, you know the truth. And then when you're not part of the organization like myself, and I still know the truth, then I get the 33rd degree certificate without having to do the rituals and lie. So that's the best part about that. And then knowing that Trump's going to shut down this wall, which is us, because there's many different meanings for it. Because the wall is also the sky that you're looking at right now. That's, well, today it's clear blue, and but there's going to be a lot of images that you're going to see, more than the ones that we're seeing now, like moving bombs and missiles and explosions, and you know, they have been planning bombs in certain areas just to explode, shaking the ground to make it seem like God's really shaking it when it's them. Everything about the world that's going on, it's them. God's just allowing it to happen. He's just waiting for it to pass by, so that they can get punished. And so that's why I say April 5th comes around this Friday. Who knows? I mean, maybe nothing happens at all. I doubt it though, because when you got, well, let's see what else could happen here. April 5th can come around. And I mean, look, I see how Steve Fletcher does. He's been following me. I mean, well, yeah, but he's been following and taking the pulse. And when you take the pulse of Obama, right, then you're going to see that Obama is acting as the Antichrist, and Fletcher is hot on his trail, because he's supposed to be, even though Steve is really playing the real role. But, you know, I do remember from May 21st, 2018, Steve Fletcher, you know, it's funny, you got Steve Fletcher, you got Steve and James, you got Stephen Banu, you know, they all work for the same. So, you were keeping an eye on the Antichrist back then, and then I seen how that was his rise. He really began, that was the starting point of Steve's first year of reign. And then, so here comes April 6th, you know, the first day of Nisan, which you're claiming that this is the true rise of the Antichrist. Well, I mean, from that day on, when you also put the number 40 there, which is 40 days and 40 nights, from that point on, I believe it lands right around when the rapture happens. When we see the more holograms lifting up, and so you're on to him, right? And that's happening. It's not something that's going to drop a bomb like immediately, but that's the beginning of Steve's real true reign. So again, I'm looking at another date that we get shut down, and that comes April 5th. It starts Friday. April 5th, right? Because the war needs to start real soon. Martial law needs to get kick-started. And with Trump shutting down the wall, you know, literally shutting down the wall in Mexico, then that's going to cause a big uproar, and people are going to start they're going to start rioting, and it's just going to get crazy. And then that's going to set off the reason why martial law needs to be declared right here in America. And then the Great Tribulation, you know, it's, even though we're already in it, because it's 8 years of Great Tribulation, 7 full years, but that is the kickstart of the Scripps Tribulation, which is just connect Great Tribulation with martial law, and then martial law kickstarts World War III, and then World War III kickstarts, and then. But remember, the King of the North wins, and the King of the South loses. At one time, I thought Trump was the King of the South, and I thought Russia was the King of the North, but it's the exact opposite, because the King of the North wins in the end. And do you think the Bible was written about Russia and America in the end? Or was it written about the fight of Christ and Satan in the end? The King of the North and the King of the South. There's 3 kings, you know, and the 4th is far richer. Which one's the 4th? Who are the 3? And what about those 2 kings that cause mischief and lie and speak at one table? Well, you're going to think it's the King of the North and King of the South. So that automatically discredits the King of the North as being anything good. So that's just how it works. Pay attention. So with them shutting us down, it's the beginning of martial law, and it continues to happen. It continues to partially start shutting down. Remember the partial government shutdown back on December 21st into the 22nd? That 150-day period that's coming up close to up on May 21st of this year. It's pretty close. It's right around the corner. All these things have to happen before then. If none of this stuff happens before May 21st, well then May 21st isn't what it is. But when martial law begins and April 5th comes around and the wall gets, majority of it gets shut down, and then YouTube channels get plucked up, and then the Antichrist starts to rise up. That's his, according to Steve Fletcher, that's his the beginning of his stages of rising up, using Obama as the face, but yet Steve truly is the underground rising up. Because when you pluck up YouTube channels that are telling you the truth, well, what do you think that means? You're plucking up the truth. The lies come tumbling in and flooding the internet. So the end is determined by the war and a flood. So the flood is on its way. Even though the floodgates have already opened up spiritually according to God's calendar, on May 21st, 2018. The floodgates have already opened up for the next 365 days. You're walking with God, and the windows of heaven are open. They're already open. So Steve's rising up more and more. 322 was bunker call. You got everybody with their soundtracks and everything. It's quite obvious. Because they're scared. You know, they're scared to be above ground. You guys are afraid to be here in the thick of it, in the midst of all of this chaos and craziness. You guys are afraid. That's why you climb in your little sissy bunkers, because you're scared. You crawl down into underground in your little tunnels and you get into your bunkers. Hey, just pray that, you know, just pray that the Bible isn't literal. I mean, when people want to give me problems about interpreting the Bible and saying that it's all spiritual and all this stuff isn't happening literally, well, then you better start believing me now when I say that. I mean, if you didn't believe then, if you didn't believe me then, don't believe me now. If you don't believe that everything is spiritual in the Bible, well, then continue not to believe that and continue to believe that it's all literal. It's all literal. Those caves are going to be crashing in on your heads and killing you. I mean, if you want to look at it literally, of course. But if you want to look at it spiritually, it just means you guys are chicken shit. You're afraid to be up here when everything happens. I mean, I'm right where I'm at. Where I'm at is where I'm going to be. And where I'm going to be is where I'm at. I couldn't be looking more forward to it. I can't wait to hear martial law is declared. I can't wait to hear when Washington gets bombed and then they try to sell it on TV that it actually happened. With, I don't know, I guess Russia probably popped up from one of their yellow submarines and sent a missile to blow up Washington, D.C. first. I think Washington's first because it's a way to cripple America. And at the same time, the wall being shut down, the majority of it, and at the same time, the truth being shut down. When Trump is talking about something, it happens underground on the same day, all right? So when he signed that little that ordeal with that college to silence, you know, the truth on 321, well, that's exactly what started to happen underground, which is the social media platform. That's underground to me, is social media. So that started to happen also. And when he talks about the wall shutting down next week, well, I'm telling you, he's talking about next week, April 5th, and into the 6th, April 6th. It's always evening, morning. And so, and at the same time, the court date's coming again. You'll see him again the second time around, 21 days later. Here comes Trump shutting down the wall, shutting down the truth, going into the 8th, because last year, April 7th, was the beginning of the wars and rumors of wars. This year, April 8th, will be the beginning of pretty much the abomination that makes it desolate, you know, set up, even though it was set up last year to make it desolate. But again, the elite have at least 3 different scripts, and you know, you got to figure out which one it is. So that's a perfect excuse for bringing in martial law to say, you know, to protect us on the 8th, declare it on the 8th. And then from, let's see, on 8th, yeah. And then 40 days from the 8th, well, it's the fake rapture. It's May 18th. It's Saturday, May 18th. 17th, Friday evening, morning. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm sticking with that. That's my final answer. That's right. Yes, Alex, that's... I mean, wait a minute. No, was that... Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There you go. That's my final answer. Alex is... who is Donald Trump? Well, he's an actor. So he's an actor. He's acting out his role. He's playing it. He's doing a great job. And yeah. So he'll have 40 days from that point on, from April 8th. 40 full days, because there's 30 days in April. So 40 full days, even if it's starting the 7th, and then it's 40 days and 40 nights. There's, I mean, yeah. You know, see, when I said that Trump and Steve are going to be talking about the number 30 and the number 40 from here on out, back on February 15th, and then you had Richie talking about the 40 nights, and then if you take a look at Steve Fletcher's video, one of the last ones, where it's talking about the Antichrist rising up, and then right directly after he's talking about that, what did you say, Steve Fletcher? What was the scripture again? Exodus 40? It was something 40, because you had 40 right next to that, meaning 40 days from that point on. And then that also not from the 6th though, from the 8th, okay? From the 6th, 40 days is going to be the 16th, Thursday, I believe it is, May 16th. But 40 days is to the fake rapture, when it's just, then that's the absolute, you know, you can't get away from that. From that point on, it's 7 days. And, until, and that still ties in with that still ties in with my 40 days that I was talking about. That from April 7th, you know, the beginning of the World War III, I said that before, but again, it's very close. But from the beginning of that, April 7th, and 40 days and 40 nights from April 7th is Friday evening, Saturday morning, May 17th, May 18th. And then Noah knew, you know, once the 40 days of rain hit the earth, which is taking place this weekend, regardless, this weekend coming up is it. That's it. We've been warned. We have plenty of time to know. 40 days and 40 nights begins. And then once the 40 days is up, Noah opens up the ark. He sees, he looks up, he sees holographic images floating up into the sky. He turns on his imaginary TV and he sees that they're trying to sell that the rapture happened. And then, so he's going to go back in his ark, shut the roof. He's going to send the dove out again, right? The dove's going to come back this time, because the first time there was no rest for the soul, because the waters were on the face of the entire earth. The flood of lies was all throughout the world. And then, so that's why he hopped back in, and then 7 days later, he let that dove back out. This time the dove came back with olive leaf plucked off, because there's a little bit of faith. Not a branch, but a leaf. Not a tree, a leaf. So there was some faith starting to change, and he knew that the waters were abated, because the waters are going to be abated on the very 7th full year since we were warned about God's judgment that came on the earth, May 21st, 2011. So he knew that the waters were abated 3.5 days before the time that he opens up the ark's roof again. And then once he knows that the waters were abated, and the 24th does come around of May, into the 25th, then he stays yet other 7 days, and those 7 days is when everybody starts completely changing, everybody. Because those first 7 days, everybody that's scared shitless, I mean, they are turning to God left and right. They don't even know what to do besides cry. No, they're not going to want to start killing people. It's not the way it works. Human nature is they're gonna bow down. They're gonna get slung with a freaking rock that comes out of the mouth of King David, and that was before he was king. King David slings Goliath, you know, the champion, the overdue champion. He slings him with this rock that is stuck in his forehead. Once that rock is stuck in his brain, then he's going to, that's when he finally bows down and his face gets planted to the ground, along with his knees and his palms of his hands. And and that's when people start really turning to God, finally. Hallelujah. And then after that happens, because the 40 days is up, and it's the 7 days, and then it's the 7 more days. It's 14 full days. When Christ returns this time, well, he changes the calendar. And the calendar is changed when it hits June 1st. Even when it hits May 31st evening, and then June 1st morning, it's still the first day of the first month of the year, which is the brand new year, which is the calendar of eternity. No more time. Time's up. That's it. We don't go by time anymore. You know how many people are going to be like, hey, after this all over, like, yo, you know what time it is? And all the clocks are disengaged, like, oh wait, I don't even need to know what time it is. I don't even have a time limit anymore. That's crazy. So, yep. Count on it. All right, this week on, bet. Just count on it. We're getting shut down, finally. We can finally rest assured that we're getting shut down. Man, oh man. Martial law is going to be declared. You know, the leader, look, I'll tell you when I'm ready for you to come get me. All right. I mean, it's definitely going to be between May 24th and May 31st.